This is Fred Weems. I'm about to read a chapter from Herman Melville's 1849 novel, Mardi. As I read this to myself earlier today, I realized the fictitious countries Dominora and Verdanna were England and Ireland. Bear in mind that the potato famine was roughly 1848. The great Irish statesman who almost won Ireland its freedom, Daniel O'Connell, died 2 years before this was written. Chapter 152. They sail round an island without landing, and talk round a subject without getting at it. Purposing a visit to Caledony, a country integrally united to Dominora, our course now lay northward along the western white cliffs of the isle. But finding the wind ahead, and the current too strong for our paddlers, we were fain to forego our destination, Babalania observing that since in Dominora we had not found Yilla, then in Caledony the maiden could not be lurking. And now some conversation ensued concerning the country we were prevented from visiting. Our chronicler narrated many fine things of its people, extolling their bravery in war, their amiability in peace, their devotion in religion, their penetration in philosophy, their simplicity and sweetness in song, their loving kindness and frugality in all things domestic, running over a long catalogue of heroes, metaphysicians, bards, and good men. But as all virtues are convertible into vices, so in some cases did the best traits of these people degenerate. Their frugality too often became parsimony, their devotion grim bigotry, and all this in a greater degree perhaps than could be predicated of the more immediate subjects of King Bello. I should point out King Bello is the name the narrator gives to the King of England. Again, all of this takes place in a fictitious area of the world called Mardi, and that's different countries. And Melville obviously talks about the real world in terms of this fictitious place, Mardi. In Caledony was much to awaken the fervor of its bards. Upland and lowland were full of the picturesque, and many unsung lyrics yet lurked in her glens. Among her blue, healthy hills lingered many tribes, who in their wild and tattooed attire still preserved the garb of the mightiest nation of old times. They bared the knee, in token that it was honorable as the face, since it had never been bent. While Braidbeard was recounting these things, the currents were sweeping us over a strait, toward a deep green island, bewitching to behold. Not greener than midmost terrace of the Andes, which under a torrid meridian steeps the fair Quito in the dews of a perpetual spring, not greener than 9,000 feet of Pirohiti's tall peak, which, rising from out the warm bosom of Tahiti, carries all summer with it into the clouds. Nay, not greener the famed gardens of Cyrus, than the vernal lawn, the knoll, the dale of beautiful Verdanna. Alas, sweet isle, thy desolation is overrun with vines, sighed Yumi, gazing. Land of caitiff curs, cried Medea. Isle whose future is in its past, hearthstone from which its children run, said Babalania. I cannot read thy chronicles for blood, Verdanna, murmured Mohi. Gliding near, we would have landed, but the rolling surf forbade. Then thrice we circumnavigated the isle for a smooth, clear beach, but it was not found. Meanwhile all still conversed. My lord, said Yumi, while we tarried with King Bello, I heard much of the feud between Dominora and this unhappy shore. Yet is not Verdanna as a child of King Bello's? Yes, minstrel, a stepchild, said Mohi. By way of enlarging his family's circle, said Babalania, an old lion once introduced a deserted young stag to his den, but the stag never became domesticated, and would still charge upon his foster brothers. Verdanna is not of the flesh and blood of Dominora, whence in good part these dissensions. But Babalania, is there no way of reconciling these foes? But one way, Yumi, by filling up this strait with dry land, for, divided by water, we Mardians must ever remain more or less divided at heart. Though Caledony was united to Dominora long previous to the union of Verdanna, yet Caledony occasions Bello no disquiet, for geographically one, the two populations insensibly blend at the point of junction. No hostile strait flows between the arms, that to embrace must touch. But Babylania, said Yumi, what asks Verdanna of Dominora, that Verdanna so clamors at the denial? They are errant cannibals, Yumi, said Media, and desire the privilege of eating each other up. King Bello's idea, said Babylania, but in these things, my lord, you demigods are ever unanimous. But whatever be Verdanna's demands, Bello persists in rejecting them. Why not grant everything she asks, even to renouncing all claim upon the isle, said Mohi, for thus Bello would rid himself of many perplexities. And thank you, old man, said Media, that bane or blessing Bello will yield his birthright? And think you, old man, said Media, that bane or blessing Bello would yield his birthright? Will a tri-crowned king resign his triple diadem? And even did Bello what you propose, he would only breed still greater perplexities. For if granted, full soon would Verdanna's... Son of a bitch. And even did Bello what you propose, he would only breed still greater perplexities. For if granted, full soon would Verdanna be glad to surrender many things she demands. And all she now asks she has had in times past, but without turning it to advantage. And is she wiser now? Does she not demand her harvests, my lord, said Yumi, and has not the reaper a right to his sheaf? Can't, Yumi. If you reap for me, the sheaf is mine. But if the reaper reaps on his own harvest field, whose then the sheaf, my lord, said Babylania. His for whom he reaps, his lord's. Then let the reaper go with sickle and with sword, said Yumi, with one hand cut down the bearded grain, and with the other smite his bearded lords. Thou growest fierce in thy lyric moods, my warlike dove, said Media blandly. But for thee, philosopher, know thou that Verdanna's men are of blood and brain inferior to Bello's native race, and the better Mardian must ever rule. Verdanna inferior to Dominora, my lord? Has she produced no bards, no orators, no wits, no patriots? Mohi, unroll thy chronicles. Tell me if Verdanna may not claim full many a star along King Bello's tattooed arm of fame. Even so, said Mohi, many chapters bear you out. But, my lord, said Babylania, as truth, omnipresent, lurks in all things, even in lies, so does some germ of it lurk in the calumnies heaped on the people of this land. For though they justly boast of many lustrous names, these jewels gem no splendid robe. And though like a bower of grapes, Verdanna is full of gushing juices, spouting out in bright sallies of wit, yet not all her grapes make wine. And here there hang goodly clusters mildewed, or half devoured by worms, bred in their own tendrils. Drop your grapes and metaphors, cried Media. Bring forth your thoughts like men. Let them come naked into Mardi. What do you mean, Babylania? This, my lord, Verdanna's worst evils are her own, not of another's giving. Her own hand is her own undoer. She stabs herself with bigotry, superstition, divided counsels, domestic feuds, ignorance, temerity. She wills but does not. Her east is one black storm cloud that never bursts. Her utmost fight is a defiance. She showers reproaches where she should rain down blows. She stands a mastiff baying at the moon. Tropes on tropes, said Media. Let me tell the tale, straightforward like a line. Verdanna is a lunatic. A trope, my lord, cried Babylania. My tropes are not tropes, said Media, but yours are. Verdanna is a lunatic, that after vainly striving to cut another's throat, grimaces before a standing pool and threatens to cut his own. And is such a madman to be entrusted with himself? No, let another govern him, who is ungovernable to himself. Aye, and tight hold the rein, and curb and rasp the bit. Do I exaggerate? Mohi, tell me, if save one lucid interval, Verdanna, while independent of Dominora, ever discreetly conducted her affairs. Was she not always full of fights and factions? And what first brought her under the sway of Bello's scepter? Did not her own chief Dermody fly to Bello's ancestor for protection against his own seditious subjects? And thereby did not her own king unking himself? What wonder then, and where the wrong, if Henro, Bello's conquering sire, seized the diadem? What my lord cites is true, said Mohi, but cite no more, I pray, lest you harm your cause. Yet for all this Barbalania, said Media, Bello but holds lunatic Verdanna's lands in trust. And may the guardian of an estate also hold custody of the ward, my lord? Aye, if he can. What can be done may be. That's the creed of demigods. Alas, cried Yumi, why war with words over this poor, suffering land? See, for all her bloom, her people starve, perish her yams. Air taken from the soil, the blight of heaven seems upon them. Not so, said Media. Heaven sends no blights. Verdanna will not learn. And if from one season's rottenness they sow again, rottenness must they reap. But Yumi, you seem earnest in this matter. Come, on all hands it is granted that evils exist in Verdanna. Now, sweet sympathizer, what must the royal Bello do to mend them? I am no sage, says Yumi. I am no sage, said Yumi. What would my lord Media do? What would you do, Babalania? Said Media. Mohi, what you? Asked the philosopher. And what would the company do? Added Mohi. Now, though these evils pose us all, said Babalania, there lately died in Verdanna one who set about curing them in a humane and peaceable way, waiving war and bloodshed. That man was Konno. Under a huge cauldron he kept a roaring fire. Well, Azagheti, how could that answer his purpose? Asked Media. Nothing better, my lord. His fire boiled his breadfruit, and so convinced were his countrymen that he was well employed, that they almost stripped their scanty orchards to fill his cauldron. Konno was a knave, said Mohi. Your pardon, old man, but that is only known to his ghost, not to us. At any rate, he was a great man, for even assuming he cajoled his country, no common man could have done it. Babalania, said Mohi, my lord has been pleased to pronounce Verdanna crazy. Now, may not her craziness arrive from the irritating, tantalizing practices of Dominora? Doubtless, Braidbeard, many of the extravagances of Verdanna are in good part to be ascribed to the cause you mention, but, to be impartial, none the less does Verdanna essay to taunt and provoke Dominora, yet not with the like result. Perceive you, Braidbeard, that the trade wind blows dead across this strait from Dominora, and not from Verdanna? Hence, when King Bello's men fling jibes and insults, every missile hits, but those of Verdanna are blown back in its teeth, her enemies jeering her again and again. King Bello's men are dastards for that, cried Yumi. It shows neither sense nor spirit nor humanity, said Babalania. All wide of the mark, cried Media. What is to be done for Verdanna? What will she do for herself, said Babalania. Philosopher, you are an extraordinary sage, and since sages should be seers, reveal Verdanna's future. My lord, you will ever find true prophets prudent, nor will any prophet risk his reputation upon predicting aught concerning this land. The isles are Oros. Nevertheless, he who doctors Verdanna aright will first medicine King Bello, who in some things is himself a patient, though he would fain be a physician. However, my lord, there is a demon of a doctor in Mardi, who at last deals with these desperate cases. He employs only pills, picked off the Coropita gianensis tree. And what sort of a vegetable is that? Asked Mohi. Consult the botanists, said Babalania. So, there is Melville on the subject of Ireland. I don't know if any scholars have gone out of the way to point this out, but it's in his book Mardi. I'll have to read more about what scholars have said of Mardi. You could footnote every page of this book several times over.